What I have done today is what you see in front of you. This is a mind map about how my game will deal with its difficulty in its final version. Of course, my project will have less things than what is shown here because all I'm doing there is a level. Now, if we zoom in, we can go ahead and focus on different parts. So for the level, I have been playing it through, and the final game would be of small levels, but will expand throughout the level. This is good because it allows me to not only add new enemies, make the level longer, but also allows me to go ahead and add secret areas you can access. Another thing with the levels for the project, though, is that of course it's just going to be the police station, short, simple. I wanted it to be that because it's more of a tutorial level to just get you to know the simple mechanics you'll be dealing with until the next upgrade. So, to explain the player, we have here. Um, so, the player throughout the game will start off with a one hit death, but throughout playing the game and defeating the bosses, you will go ahead and unlock extra upgrades thanks to the new scrap idea we have thought of. The scrap idea is basically where if you kill an enemy or you find an item called a scrap pile around the map, you'll collect a certain amount of scrap. This scrap will then be used either in a after the level or after a boss, or depending on how I choose it, you will upgrade things like your damage or your health. What I could also do is mix this also with the weapon idea. Instead of just having it be exactly like Mega Man, where you defeat an enemy to get their ability, I could do it so that you just collect scrap, and from the scrap you make weapons. More of a Ratchet and Clank style of gameplay. With the weapons, of course, I've explained here that the player will start off with the jump attack. This isn't going to be shown in the project because there's nothing for it to attack. But in the final game, how it would work is the normal enemies in the first beginning levels will be able to just take jump hits a certain amount of times before they die. Now, you still also have to make sure that you avoid getting hit by any of the enemies, so there's a lot of challenge with this game. Then, of course, you unlock uh, different weapons throughout the game, and two ideas we have for different weapons are right here. One of the weapons being probably the first unlockable weapon, being the simple blaster. Think of it just exactly like the Mega Man blaster, except with the new ability to control it perfectly 360 degrees with a mouse or a right joystick. And then later in the game, we could have a thing called an explosive flyball, which creates a ball of explosive that you get to control for a certain amount of time before it explodes. Now, it is called a flyball because it is also rocket propelled, meaning it can fly. Moving on towards the enemies and obstacles. So, with how the levels will work, the enemies will, of course, have a set amount of health, and it varies on their sizes or what weapons they use. Though large enemies could be an exception where if you know their specific weaknesses, they can be handled with a lot easier. Now, with the spawning, I've been playing it through, and what could happen in the final game is that with each level spawns a random type of enemy in the specific areas that I set it to. However, I have it so that it only spawns a number, a set amount of enemies. Now, one problem that could happen, of course, is the fact that it would spawn big enemies. However, the solution to that is to just simply take the big enemies out of the equation and just put them in their own specific code to spawn. Of course, as mentioned before, the robots will vary in different sizes. You could have normal enemies, of course, around the level, but big enemies, like the laser robot that was shown here, where you have to find specific weaknesses to defeat them. Now, of course, then there's the big bosses enemies, where in the main factory where they're developing new robots, you will battle against the unfinished big battle bots. Again, with the damage, I mentioned that before, there could be a one-hit death game, or it could change. It's still in the planning stages because it's not important for this project. Anyway, moving from there, of course, the final thing is the main one of the game's difficulty is a difficulty slider. It allows you to go from easy to hard, and it's a way for me to get to casual gamers as well as core gamers. If you want to play hard difficulty, then you're more of a core platformer / shooter player. And if you go easy, then you're more of a casual player. Anyway, that should be all for what I have done for today. What I might do on Monday or in between is I will likely be looking through more tutorials now to help me get prepared for the Unity side of the game, which is the most important part too. But that should be all for today, and I'll be recording the next time.